Sarah Mitchell stared at her phone screen in complete disbelief, her hands trembling uncontrollably as she held the crumpled lottery ticket between her fingers. The numbers displayed on the Arizona Lottery website matched exactly with what was printed on her ticket. 7, 14, 23, 35, 42, 49. $43 million. After 3 grueling years of struggling as a single mother in suburban Phoenix, working exhausting double shifts at Murphy's Family Diner, while her ex-husband Michael lived comfortably with his new wife Jennifer in their luxurious Scottsdale mansion, this seemed like an impossible dream that had somehow materialized into reality. "Mom, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost or something terrible happened," asked her 8-year-old daughter Emma, looking up from her challenging math homework at their small, worn kitchen table. The cramped apartment was filled with second-hand furniture and peeling paint on the walls, but it was home to them both. "Nothing's wrong, sweetheart. I'm just checking something very important online," Sarah whispered softly, quickly shoving the precious ticket into her leather purse with shaking fingers. Her heart pounded wildly against her chest as she calculated the endless possibilities this windfall could bring. No more sleepless nights worrying about monthly rent payments. No more painful choices between buying groceries and Emma's essential school supplies. No more crushing anxiety about how she'd ever afford college tuition for her brilliant daughter. But something deep inside her heart held her back from celebrating immediately. Michael's arrogant, dismissive face flashed vividly in her mind, the same selfish man who had fought ruthlessly to minimize his child support payments, claiming he couldn't possibly afford the extra $100 Emma desperately needed each month for her asthma medication and inhaler refills. The same heartless man who had callously abandoned their family for his 25-year-old secretary Jennifer, leaving behind crushing debt, broken promises, and emotional devastation. A dark but absolutely necessary idea began forming clearly in her strategic mind. Before she claimed this incredible, life-changing prize, she needed to discover something crucial about the true character of her daughter's father. She needed to test his priorities one final time. 3 completely sleepless days passed before Sarah could think clearly and rationally about her extraordinary situation. She had carefully hidden the winning lottery ticket in her late grandmother's antique jewelry box, checking it obsessively every few hours to make absolutely sure it was real and not just some cruel, impossible dream. The local Phoenix news stations were buzzing constantly about the mysterious unclaimed jackpot, with excited reporters interviewing hopeful residents outside Tommy's Corner store where the winning ticket had been sold, the exact same neighborhood convenience store where Sarah bought her daily morning coffee and weekly lottery tickets before starting her demanding shift at the diner. The lucky winner has exactly 180 days from the drawing date to claim this life-changing prize, announced Channel 12's enthusiastic news anchor with barely contained excitement. So far, mysteriously and surprisingly, absolutely no one has come forward to claim this incredible fortune that could change someone's entire life forever. Sarah made her decision with cold, calculated determination. She would wait patiently and strategically, but first she absolutely needed to test Michael's character and priorities one final definitive time. Their bitter, contentious divorce proceedings had revealed disturbing glimpses of his true selfish nature and complete lack of empathy, but she wondered desperately if fatherhood and genuine concern for Emma meant anything substantial to him when a real crisis potentially threatened their daughter's health and well-being. She crafted her elaborate plan with meticulous care and attention to detail over several cups of strong coffee. Emma's prestigious private school, Desert Vista Academy, had sent multiple urgent notices about unpaid tuition fees, totaling exactly $3,000 that Sarah simply didn't have available in her meager savings account. Michael had already coldly refused to help with this significant educational expense, claiming his new mortgage payments and Jennifer's expensive materialistic lifestyle left him completely financially strapped despite his impressive 6-figure salary as a corporate attorney. This situation was absolutely perfect for her test. Sarah picked up her phone with steady, determined fingers, despite the storm of conflicting emotions brewing inside her chest, and carefully dialed Michael's familiar number. "What do you want now, Sarah?" His voice was immediately cold, dismissive, and irritatingly impatient. "Michael, Emma needs emergency surgery. It's serious." The carefully constructed lie came much easier than Sarah had initially expected it would. Years of enduring Michael's psychological manipulation, emotional abuse, and constant gaslighting had unfortunately taught her to be strategic, careful, and calculating with the truth when dealing with his volatile personality and selfish tendencies. Surgery? What kind of surgery are we talking about? Michael's tone shifted slightly, showing just a small hint of parental concern creeping through his usual dismissive, condescending attitude toward his ex-wife and her supposed dramatic tendencies. Her asthma condition has gotten significantly worse over the past few weeks, Michael. Dr. Rodriguez at Phoenix Children's Hospital says she needs an urgent, specialized procedure to clear her airways completely and permanently, or her condition could become genuinely life-threatening within the next few months, Sarah explained, staring across their small living room at Emma, who was playing peacefully and innocently with her collection of worn, stuffed animals, completely unaware of the elaborate deception unfolding around her. The overwhelming guilt gnawed painfully at Sarah's conscience, but she pressed forward with unwavering determination. Our insurance company won't cover this experimental procedure. I need exactly $8,000, Michael. Our daughter's life and future health depend on getting this surgery. An uncomfortable, tense silence stretched between them for nearly 30 long seconds. Sarah could almost hear him calculating carefully in his head, weighing Jennifer's recent designer handbag purchases and their upcoming expensive European vacation against his only daughter's supposed critical medical emergency. $8,000. Sarah, you know perfectly well I don't have that kind of money just sitting around in my checking account waiting to be spent. Jennifer and I just purchased this house 6 months ago, and we have enormous monthly mortgage payments. This is your daughter, Michael, your only child in this entire world. Don't you dare try to guilt-trip me like this. You made the choice to keep her when I clearly stated we weren't financially ready for children. This responsibility is ultimately yours, not mine. The casual cruelty and callousness in his voice confirmed exactly what Sarah had suspected and feared for years. Even when directly faced with his daughter's supposed life-threatening medical emergency, Michael's immediate instinctive reaction was self-preservation and blame-shifting. So that's your final answer? You absolutely won't help Emma with this surgery? I'll see what I can possibly manage, but I honestly can't promise anything substantial. Maybe ask your parents for money, or consider getting a second job to cover expenses. After hanging up the phone, Sarah sat quietly in her dented Honda Civic outside Emma's elementary school, watching other parents pick up their children in expensive SUVs, luxury sedans, and brand-new minivans. Her hands shook uncontrollably as she processed Michael's callous, heartless response to what he believed was a genuine medical emergency. Not once during their entire conversation had he asked for specific details about Emma's supposed condition or the surgical procedure. Not once had he offered to speak directly with Dr. Rodriguez, visit Emma at the hospital, or even ask to see medical records. His primary and only concern was protecting his own financial comfort and maintaining his luxurious lifestyle with Jennifer. Emma bounded enthusiastically toward the car, her bright pink backpack bouncing rhythmically behind her, completely unaware that her father had just demonstrated his true priorities and character to devastating effect. Sarah forced a bright, convincing smile as her daughter climbed into the passenger seat. How was school today, honey? Did you learn anything exciting? It was absolutely amazing, Mom. Mrs. Henderson said my science project about monarch butterfly migration patterns was the best project in our entire class this year. She wants to display it prominently in the main hallway for everyone in the school to see. Can we please celebrate with ice cream? Emma's innocent eyes sparkled with pure joy and excitement. Sarah's heart clenched painfully in her chest. Ice cream was a small luxury they genuinely couldn't afford on her extremely tight budget, but she nodded anyway without hesitation. Of course, baby. You absolutely deserve it after working so incredibly hard on that project. As they drove slowly to the small family-owned ice cream shop downtown, Sarah's phone buzzed with an incoming text message from Michael. Talk to Jennifer about your situation tonight. We can maybe spare $500 maximum, but you'll need to figure out the remaining $7,500 yourself. Don't expect this kind of financial help regularly. We have our own significant expenses and responsibilities. $500 for his daughter's supposed life-saving surgery. Sarah immediately took a screenshot of the message, preserving it as crucial evidence for the confrontation she was already planning in her mind. The winning lottery ticket seemed to burn symbolically in her purse, representing not just financial freedom and security, but the power to expose Michael's true character, completely and publicly. That quiet evening, Sarah carefully tucked Emma into bed in their cramped two-bedroom apartment. The walls were paper-thin, and she could clearly hear their neighbor's television blaring loudly through the shared wall, along with occasional arguments from the apartment above them. Emma's small bedroom was cozy and cheerful, despite its obvious limitations, filled with second-hand furniture that Sarah had lovingly painted in bright, vibrant colors to mask their worn condition and create a happy, safe space for her precious daughter. "Mom, am I really sick like you told Daddy on the phone?" Emma asked suddenly, her big brown eyes searching Sarah's face with innocent concern and worry. Sarah's stomach dropped completely to the floor. "Why would you ask that question, sweetheart? I heard you talking on the phone with Daddy earlier today when I was doing homework. Your voice sounded really scared and upset, like something terrible was happening." The pure innocence and trust in her daughter's voice nearly shattered Sarah's careful resolve completely. She sat gently on the edge of the narrow bed, stroking Emma's soft, silky hair with tender, loving fingers. "No, baby, you're perfectly healthy and strong. Sometimes grown-ups have to have very difficult conversations about money and adult responsibilities that you don't need to worry about. It has absolutely nothing to do with you being sick, I promise you." Emma nodded thoughtfully, seemingly satisfied and reassured by her mother's explanation. "I love you so much, Mom, more than all the stars in the sky. I love you too, sweetheart, more than anything else in this entire world." After Emma fell peacefully asleep, Sarah quietly retrieved the lottery ticket from her grandmother's jewelry box. $43 million could change their lives forever in ways she had never dared to imagine or dream about. Emma could attend any college or university she wanted. They could move to a safe neighborhood with excellent schools, and Sarah could finally breathe without the constant financial anxiety that had been crushing her chest for years. But first, she needed to see exactly how far Michael would go to avoid supporting his daughter. Her character test wasn't completely over yet. She needed to push him further to see his true limits and priorities when faced with what he believed was a genuine crisis involving his only child's health and well-being. Over the following week, Sarah continued her carefully orchestrated charade with increasing desperation and urgency in her voice. She called Michael twice more, each time sounding more frantic, helpless, and emotionally distraught about Emma's fictional medical emergency. She mentioned specific details about supposed hospital consultations with respiratory specialists, painting a vivid, convincing picture of a devoted mother at the absolute end of her rope, facing every parent's worst nightmare with no financial resources. Michael's responses grew progressively more defensive, angry and accusatory with each subsequent conversation. He accused Sarah of deliberately manipulating him emotionally, of using Emma as a pawn to extract money from his hard-earned savings account. He claimed repeatedly that he was already stretched completely thin financially, despite posting numerous photos on his social media accounts of expensive dinners at upscale restaurants, weekend golf trips with business associates, and shopping sprees with Jennifer at luxury boutiques. "You're being overly dramatic and manipulative, Sarah. Children get sick all the time, and they recover just fine without expensive procedures. Emma's probably completely healthy, and you just want money for yourself and your own expenses," he said coldly during their third heated conversation. Sarah had expected exactly this type of selfish, defensive response based on his past behavior, but hearing him dismiss their daughter's supposed suffering so callously and heartlessly still stung deeply. She began documenting absolutely everything methodically: his repeated refusal to help financially, his cruel accusations and blame shifting, his complete lack of interest in Emma's supposed medical condition or treatment details. Meanwhile, the local Phoenix news stations continued reporting daily on the mysterious unclaimed lottery jackpot, building excitement throughout the city. The anticipation was growing steadily as people speculated wildly about the identity of the lucky mystery winner. Sarah watched these reports with a mixture of growing anticipation and nervous anxiety, knowing that her incredible secret would eventually come to light and change everything forever. Emma, completely oblivious to the complex adult drama surrounding her, continued her normal routine of school, homework, and play. Her genuine happiness and contentment, despite their modest circumstances, made Sarah's elaborate plan feel both absolutely justified and heartbreaking simultaneously. 2 weeks after her initial desperate call, Sarah decided to escalate the situation dramatically for the final phase of her test. She called Michael from the busy parking lot of Phoenix Children's Hospital, using the authentic ambient noise of sirens, medical helicopters, and bustling emergency activity to add credibility and urgency to her increasingly desperate story. "Michael, I'm at the hospital with Emma right now. The doctors just finished their consultation, and they're saying if we don't schedule this surgery within the next 7 days, her respiratory condition could deteriorate rapidly and become completely irreversible. I've applied for every possible grant, charity program, and financial aid option available. I've borrowed money from everyone I know, my parents, my co-workers, even my landlord. I've exhausted every resource, and I'm completely out of options. Time is running out fast." She could hear Jennifer's sharp, annoyed voice in the background, asking with obvious irritation who was calling during their romantic dinner at an expensive restaurant. Michael's muffled response suggested he was more concerned about the interruption to his evening than his daughter's supposed medical crisis. "Sarah, I already told you multiple times that I don't have $8,000 sitting in my checking account. Why don't you sell your car and use public transportation? I need my car to get to work every day and take Emma to school. Michael, please, I'm literally begging you on my knees in this hospital parking lot. This is your daughter, your own flesh and blood. Look, I'll give you another $500 maximum, but that's absolutely it. I can't mortgage my house or destroy my credit rating for your financial emergencies. Another $500. For what he genuinely believed was his daughter's life-saving surgery. Sarah ended the call without responding, her hands trembling with pure rage and profound disappointment. She finally had her complete answer. Michael's love for Emma had a specific price limit of exactly $1,000 total. Now it was time for the devastating truth to come out and for him to face the consequences of his choices. Sarah decided to claim her lottery prize on a bright Friday morning, choosing the lump sum option of $26 million after taxes. The Arizona lottery officials were professional and efficient, handling all the complicated paperwork, while photographers captured the historic moment for publicity materials and press releases that would be distributed statewide. "How does it feel to suddenly become a multimillionaire overnight?" asked an enthusiastic reporter from Channel 15 News. "Completely surreal and overwhelming," Sarah answered honestly, still processing the magnitude of her new situation. "But mostly I'm thinking about securing my daughter's future and giving her opportunities I never had growing up." The incredible story hit local news that same evening during prime time. Sarah Mitchell, hardworking single mother and diner waitress from Phoenix, had won the state's largest jackpot in 5 years. The bitter irony wasn't lost on her. While Michael was refusing to help with Emma's fake medical emergency, Sarah had been quietly sitting on millions of dollars, testing his character. Her phone started ringing immediately and constantly. Friends, co-workers, distant relatives she hadn't spoken to in years, and complete strangers all wanted to congratulate her or ask for financial help and investment opportunities. But the specific call she was waiting for didn't come. Michael's telling silence spoke volumes about his character. He was probably processing the implications, slowly realizing that his ex-wife's financial desperation had been an elaborate character test, one he had failed spectacularly and publicly. Sarah turned off her phone and focused entirely on Emma, who was excitedly making plans for their new life. "Can we get a big house with a huge backyard, Mom? And maybe a golden retriever like the one Mrs. Henderson has?" "Yes, sweetheart. We can have absolutely anything your heart desires and more." The lottery officials had warned her about the media attention that would follow, but Sarah was prepared. She had a story to tell about character, priorities, and what it truly means to be a parent. Michael finally called on Sunday evening, his voice tight with a volatile mixture of anger, embarrassment, and wounded pride. "You've got some serious nerve, Sarah, playing elaborate mind games while sitting on millions of dollars. Do you have any idea how this makes me look to Jennifer, my colleagues, and everyone in our social circle?" Sarah had prepared extensively for this inevitable confrontation, but his completely self-centered response still amazed her. Even now, facing the consequences of his heartless actions, his primary concern was his own reputation and social standing within his privileged community, not his daughter's well-being or his failure as a father. "How it makes you look. Michael, I told you Emma needed life-saving surgery. I begged you desperately for help describing a medical emergency. Your response was to offer $1,000 total for what you genuinely believed was your daughter's critical medical procedure. That was a complete lie. Emma's perfectly fine and healthy. Yes, Emma is fine, but you didn't know that when you refused to help her. You were willing to let your daughter potentially suffer and die because $8,000 was too much money to sacrifice for her health and safety. The line went completely quiet for nearly a full minute. Sarah could hear Jennifer's agitated voice in the background, but couldn't make out her exact words or tone. "You deliberately manipulated me and set me up," Michael said finally, his voice defensive and accusatory. "I gave you an opportunity to demonstrate what kind of father you really are deep down inside. You chose Jennifer's comfort and your luxury lifestyle over Emma's life. That wasn't manipulation. That was a character test, and you failed miserably. I want to see Emma immediately. I want to explain my side of this situation to her." "Your side?" "Michael, there is absolutely no side to explain. You failed as a father long before I won this lottery. Your priorities were clear. Your comfort mattered more than your daughter's life." Michael's breathing became heavy and labored. "This will ruin me professionally and socially. You ruined yourself the moment you chose money over your daughter's supposed life-threatening emergency. I just gave you the opportunity to show your true character, and you did." The story of Sarah's lottery win and Michael's heartless response spread like wildfire far beyond local Phoenix news stations. Social media platforms picked up the compelling narrative, with thousands of people weighing in passionately on the ethics of Sarah's test and Michael's obvious failure as a father. Some people criticized Sarah for lying about Emma's medical condition, but the overwhelming response strongly supported her decision to expose Michael's true character and priorities. Michael's employer, the prestigious law firm of Davidson Walsh & Associates in Scottsdale, reportedly received hundreds of angry phone calls from outraged people expressing disgust at his treatment of Emma. His social media accounts, once filled with photos of expensive vacations and luxury purchases, were flooded with critical comments and public shaming from strangers across the country. Jennifer, according to several mutual friends, was absolutely furious about the negative attention and blamed Michael entirely for not handling the situation better. Their marriage, built partly on Michael's financial stability and social status, was reportedly severely strained by the relentless negative publicity and social ostracism. Meanwhile, Sarah and Emma moved into a beautiful 4-bedroom house in Ahwatukee, one of Phoenix's most desirable school districts. Emma got her spacious backyard and the golden retriever she'd dreamed of naming Buddy. Sarah quit her exhausting job at Murphy's Diner and enrolled in Arizona State University to finish the degree she'd abandoned when Emma was born. "Are you happy now, Mom?" Emma asked one evening, as they sat by their new swimming pool, watching the sunset paint the Arizona mountains in brilliant shades of orange and purple. "Happier than I ever imagined possible, sweetheart. And most importantly, you're safe and loved." The local news continued following their story, turning Sarah into something of a folk hero for single mothers everywhere. She received letters from women sharing similar stories about ex-husbands who prioritized new relationships over their children's needs. 2 months after the lottery revelation, Michael's expensive attorney contacted Sarah about modifying their existing custody arrangement. He wanted significantly increased visitation rights and was threatening to take her to court, claiming the lottery win had fundamentally changed their circumstances and Emma's living situation substantially. Sarah's new attorney, Rebecca Martinez, one of Phoenix's top family lawyers, reviewed their case with complete confidence. His public refusal to help with Emma's supposed medical emergency, documented thoroughly in your text messages and recorded phone calls, actually strengthens your legal position significantly. Any reasonable judge will see his true priorities clearly. The custody hearing was surprisingly brief but intense. Michael's lawyer argued that his client deserved more time with Emma now that Sarah could afford excellent childcare and didn't need to work multiple exhausting jobs. Sarah's attorney presented the damning evidence of Michael's refusal to help during Emma's fictional medical crisis. Judge Patricia Williams was clearly not impressed with Michael's arguments or character. "Mr. Mitchell, you had the perfect opportunity to demonstrate your commitment to your daughter's well-being when you believed she needed life-saving surgery. Your response was to offer minimal financial support and suggest her mother get a second job. This court sees absolutely no reason to reward such behavior with increased custody privileges. The judge maintained their existing arrangement, but increased Michael's child support obligations substantially, noting that his financial situation appeared much more comfortable than he had previously claimed under oath. Outside the courthouse, Michael attempted to approach Sarah and Emma, but his daughter immediately hid behind her mother's legs, clearly uncomfortable with his presence and the surrounding attention from reporters and photographers. "Daddy looks sad," Emma whispered to Sarah. "Some people are sad when they face consequences for their choices, sweetheart," Sarah replied gently. 1 year later, Sarah established the Emma Mitchell Foundation, dedicated to helping single mothers navigate financial emergencies and complex custody battles. Her personal experience had taught her that many women face similar situations without the incredible benefit of a lottery windfall to expose their ex-partner's true nature and priorities. Emma thrived in her new school environment, making friends easily and excelling academically in ways that made Sarah incredibly proud every single day. She rarely asked about her father anymore, seeming to understand intuitively that some relationships weren't worth maintaining just because of biological connections and shared DNA. Michael's life had taken a dramatically different trajectory. His marriage to Jennifer ended in bitter divorce after 8 months of public scrutiny and financial pressure. He moved to a small apartment across town and took a less prestigious job, his reputation in Phoenix's legal community permanently damaged by his actions during the crisis. On the anniversary of her lottery win, Sarah received an unexpected visitor. Michael stood at her front door, looking significantly older and more tired than she remembered from their courthouse encounter months earlier. "I came to apologize," he said quietly, his voice lacking its usual arrogance and defensiveness. "Not because of the money or the negative publicity, because I failed Emma completely. I failed as a father when it mattered most." Sarah studied his face carefully, looking for genuine signs of remorse versus calculated manipulation designed to regain access to Emma and repair his damaged reputation. After a long, tense moment, she nodded slowly. "Emma's genuinely happy now, Michael. That's what matters most to me. Could I maybe take her for ice cream sometime, just to talk honestly and try to rebuild our relationship?" Sarah glanced back toward the house, where Emma was playing joyfully with Buddy in the backyard, her laughter filling the air with pure happiness and contentment. "We'll see," she said, closing the door softly but firmly. "Sometimes the greatest gift you can give your child is showing them what real love, protection, and genuine priorities look like in action."